You picking it up and you don't quit like that. You'll pop some more shit.
Okay, so back to Notes for Collette, Part 5. This part, we're actually going to talk about battlefield, what I call battlefield leadership, or being a battlefield general. We're not yet at the point where I'm going to talk specifically about deployment and specific strategies. However, this video is going to be another one of those key concept videos where we start looping together or weaving together all the concepts in the previous video. So, just for our example here, and I set up this kind of poor man's setup on my very lumpy bed. Actually, it's just a comforter that's lumpy, and that's why you see the fault line in the middle there. I'm going to be going up against a Karai crew, which I didn't really optimize. However, I put way more models for Karai on the board than I did for the Collette crew, which is, Collette crew is probably around 30 soulstones or so. But anyway, let's talk about battlefield generalship. So like I said before, the Collette crew really is not a fighting crew. They're not a get in there and spend 5 turns beating on the other guy and then hoping to emerge on top of that with a higher model count and by hitting harder. They're not really built for that. Like I said, they're a movement-based crew. And so movement-based crews don't really dominate you by beating you in combat so much as they dominate you by beating you at combat at the right time. Movement-based crews are all about timing and knowing when to do the right things at the right moment. And your ability to do that and control the ebb and flow of the battle, if you will, and also control the battlefield itself is what is going to lead you to being a successful Collette player. So really you have to look at this in terms of controlling sections of the board, owning particular combats, staying away from other types of combats, and basically just running the show, making the opponent feel like they're playing your game and you're not playing theirs. Now, with this Karai crew, this is actually a pretty balanced matchup because Karai matches up very well against Collette. Karai has a lot of the same movement tricks, and Karai can get around very quickly, and she's also much more durable than Collette, so she does have some advantages as well. Okay, so what I did was, when I placed the models on the board, I've kind of made up a shared treasure hunt scenario with Karai versus Collette, and really just wanted to use that because this is a very good scenario for learning how to control the battlefield and win at particular times during the fight. Now, shared treasure hunt is tough because it becomes a game of hot potato, and there's just a lot of strategic elements. You have to get at the treasure, and then you lose all your movement tricks, and you're trying to bring your treasure back to your deployment zone. So this really plays into a lot of different things at the same time. This plays into controlling initiative. Not necessarily winning initiative, but controlling initiative. Controlling resources, keeping your model count high enough, and eliminating key threats as soon as they present themselves. So, with this particular matchup, for example, Collette versus Karai, there are some models that you might consider to be key threats on the field. For example, the Shikome. Very dangerous model for a lot of reasons. Very fast, very resilient, very good in combat as long as it's going after its prey. Overall, just a very points-efficient model. Then you've got Ikiro, who is Karai's main workhorse as far as getting into combats and blowing things up and getting summoned and resummoned to come back again. So that's Ikiro. And then you may have Detsuba, who is another one of Karai's beat sticks. Again, very fast, good damage, and reasonably good combat control. So with Treasure Hunt, what you're trying to do is get to that treasure. Now, this is an interesting scenario because the Shikome, as you can see, can get to the treasure the fastest of all of Karai's minions. Shikome is going to get there very fast due to nimble, flight, spirit, and so forth. But is Shikome really going to go after the treasure, or is Shikome going to go after her prey, which in this case we're going to say is Cassandra? So that's one thing to think about. How much of a threat is that Shikome, and how quickly do you want to take her out? Same with Datsuba. Is Datsuba going to be the one to carry the treasure back? Is it going to be one of the Onryo? We don't know. But let's look at our plan. Our plan is going to be to get up there, get a hold of that treasure, run it part of the way back actually, hand it off to a model that I'm not particularly going to miss in combat, so I'm going to pick the Performer actually to hand the treasure back to, and go about it that way. Now, if my opponent decides instead of attacking with Shikome, if he decides that he wants to touch treasure first, then it does become a fight, and we have to take that Shikome down, and we're in for a long day. So, from the second video, we look at movement tricks. So, for example, I'm going to use Cassandra's celebrity ability, push her forward 6 inches, but reasonably out of sight, because she can still be hit by ranged, even though she can't be charged. Then on my activations, I'm going to take this Corphi, move it up 8, and move it up another 8. Then I'm going to, you may be burning activations in between too, but my point is to try to control this side of the field. So I may burn a activation walking the Performer into place. Actually, I probably want her closer here. I may use Colette's first activation. Actually, I may use the Mannequin and link to this Corphi duet. Use Colette's activation to make a few soul stones, and so forth. So the other part of the equation is I'm going to push. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to push Cassandra on her activation. She'll push up to the duet, to the Corphi, and then she'll move up that way. So I still have 18 inches between her and Collette, and then I'll take the Corphi, push up to the other Corphi. So that's one action. Then I might decide to form up the duet. So I'll form up the duet. Still have an AP left. So I may just take another movement action and try to put myself here. So now I've presented an imminent threat, making it so that the Shikome is really going to have to think about it. That's a shotgun play, and that's a very that play is designed to get you across the battlefield very quickly. Later on, I could either attack with Cassandra. I could bring Collette in and try to do mannequin replacement or something like that on that Shikome. In this case, I probably would try. Well, let's see what my control hand is real quick. Just gonna pull out some cards. So on this turn. Yeah, I've got a high tomes in there. I've got a pair of tomes. So I may discard like the crappy cards, give myself a soul stone, play this, or even play this this tome, flip for another. Oh, I black jokered. Well, that wouldn't have worked. So I need to have a backup plan in case now I've got a Shikome that I'm going to be pulling to the backfield with me, so I have to be prepared for that. But that might be one of the ways I go about it. I might also try Magician's Duel. If I can get close enough, I could send a dove that way just to keep it tied up long enough, and so forth. Just a comment here. In this case, yeah, I probably do want to try to get at that treasure before Karai does, because Karai is very fast. if I'm up against a slower master in the same situation, I may not want to go as quickly as I'm moving here. That's very important. When you're trying to control the flow of the battle, you're trying to control initiative, but you're not necessarily trying to go fast, and you're not necessarily trying to go first. The whole point of the whole power behind a movement crew is that you want to break out that breakneck speed at the right time. Right now, in this situation, yeah, you want to come back. You want to come out pretty quick. You want to establish quick control of the center here. You eventually want to get it to the point where you're carrying this back with the performer. And most of the combat that's going on up here is trying to prevent the opponent from getting at your performer, who sadly now has to slowly walk it all back. So that's one way of controlling the board. There are other tricks to controlling the board too, like you might have instead, if you were looking at another strategy, you might have split your girls up to go after, say, evidence counters. So if there's like an evidence counter out here, you might send a girl out that way. You might even feint if this is more of a straight-up type of fight and you don't want it to be a straight-up type of fight. You might feint by having your duet come out this way and then slingshotting Cassandra off of them. So, for example, Cassandra would push up to them, and then on her activation, she slingshots out this way, and then maybe even pushes a little bit further. So now your opponent is trying to figure out which way you're trying to go. They may try to pursue one of these options, and if they do, you've got Collette sort of towards the middle of this operational area, and she's going to come and pull that showgirl out of trouble. So there is actually quite an art to battlefield generalship. This really goes down to timing. It really goes down to control. It goes down to eliminating key threats when they become key threats. So, for example, that Tsuba, yeah, I know it hits hard. I know I'm scared of that. But it's not a key threat right now. The main key threat right now is the Shikome. And so I have to build my strategy around eliminating that Shikome as a threat, either by removing its ability to move around so quickly or neutralizing it in combat. So I know this is a big picture type of video. I hope that some of these concepts help somebody out there. But that's the idea. Yes, you're fast. Yes, you can control portions of the battlefield, or you can get to portions of the battlefield faster than most opponents with Collette. The key is knowing when. The key is knowing how to get at key threats, how to isolate key threats, and how to eliminate those threats in order. So anyway, that's it for this video, and hopefully you will send me a comment and let me know what specific questions you have, and we'll take it from there. Thanks.